stands nearly at 50% cost to the hospitals. 100% cost is billed to the client. That doesn't get passed on to the end customer at all. So these are things which are happening. See, finally, I don't say you have to do it or something. It's a market. Finally, all these dynamics are going to play a role in actually correcting itself. And how quickly, how early all the stakeholders come together and start working together, I think it's going to, because as I said, 350 million are covered. Talk of a population of, look at our population which is left to be covered. And out of that 350, 120 million is below poverty line for whom government is paying. As third-party payments grow both in private as well as government programs, the pressure on pricing for drug manufacturers would increase. Insurers and government would change their profile from claims processing or settling to well-informed purchasers with a vested interest in getting the price. Employers and insurers would be under tremendous pressure to cut healthcare costs. Third-party payers, government programs would enforce generic and therapeutic substitution prescribing protocols. Employers and insurance would accelerate the demand for pharmacy vendors who will provide sophisticated utilization review, change physician prescribing patterns. Wholesalers would grow and direct sales to retail pharmacists would decline. What are insurers' expectations? Medicines and consumables, approximately 25% of the bill in medical cases and 60% in surgical cases, especially when implants are used. More transparent pricing of implants and high-cost consumables. Get in transparency. But I have a very close friend who is an orthopedician and his wife is a gynecologist. So once we're discussing, he has got his own hospital. I just asked him, how did you fix your pricing? He said, I don't know. I just see that particular hospital for that particular type of a surgery, what is the package cost? I price myself slowly lower than that. That is where I think hospital management graduates or somebody need to do. Because his pricing is purely on, he said, no, okay. I said, that is fine. As far as your surgeon charges are fine. You may say that, okay, your surgeon charges cannot differ, but what about the rest of the charges? Have you worked out your costing? What is your cost involved? He said, no, I have not done anything. That I don't know how to do that also. That surgery can be performed at 1.5 lakh rupees in that particular hospital. I am charging 1.20. So that's where more transparent pricing of implants and high-cost consumables. Patient does not have the option to buy them from a store and also verify genuinity. The patient is completely dependent on the hospital or a doctor who suggests implants based on the patient conditions. What is actually used during the surgery is difficult to verify. The hospital buys stents or lenses in bulk at hugely discounted prices but bill it to the patient at MRP or even higher. Even if the manufacturer and the hospital keep a decent margin, we can expect a reduction of 25% on cost of implants. Also, just like generics, the emphasis should be on indigenous implants and not promote imported brands wherein end results may be the same. Insurers may also come together to authorize generics and Indian brands for which they will pay in full and may not partially. What I mean to say here is that they'll say, okay, if you go for this type of brands or this imported brands, you will get only 80% of the cost. But if you go in for Indian brands, you may get, or the cheaper variety, you may get 100, but efficacy would be the same. Procurement by insurers directly may not be possible, but if they are able to authorize certain manufacturers, then pricing should be differentiated for insurance customers through the hospitals. See, all this helps in getting down the cost of hospitalization, where the cost, as the gentleman before this said, that yes, quality brings down the cost. All measures of quality brings down the cost. That cost actually gets passed on back to the insured, that is the patient. Where the premiums don't increase, you have more people coming in, going in for the financing mechanism. There's a talk about universal health coverage, that we should have all the citizens in the country covered under some basic health program. There was a committee which was appointed by the Planning Commission, Sayanath Reddy Committee. which said that insurance may not be the mechanism. But this is a very simple type of a suggestion which happens. You segment the population into affordability and insurability. A band, people who can afford and they are insurable. B, who can afford but they are not insurable. C, who cannot afford but they are insurable. And D, who cannot afford and they are again not insurable. A, commercial insurance coverage. Sort of make it compulsory. Why not say that unless you have an insurance policy, you will not get gas subsidy? If you should have an health insurance policy or health insurance coverage either through the government scheme or through this scheme. Unless you have something, produce a proof of that, you will not get any other things on subsidy. Commercial insurance coverage with government bridging the gap. C is cannot afford but they are insurable. Where maybe even senior citizens, where the premiums are much high in risk-based pricing. Or people who are insurable and but below the poverty line, bridge the gap of payment through the government. But let those schemes be on risk-based pricing so that they are sustainable and they can grow. The moment you run those schemes on losses, they become unsustainable. B and D, government to bear the risk and insurance companies can administer the scheme. If somebody has looked at the US models or exchange, health insurance exchanges, etc. So those all stakeholders, providers, physicians and pharma companies to collaborate and make available most cost-effective quality treatment to citizens of the country. Can we make basic health insurance cover mandatory? I think this is just, I'm ending my presentation with this. It's just a few points or few things. I'm open for questions.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
I'm Swapnil. I'm working as a team leader neurorehabilitation Indian Spinal Injury Center for New Delhi. Actually, there are many facilities which is not covered under insurance, like rehabilitation. Almost all the surgeries, maybe a replacement surgery or a cardiac surgery, is not complete without proper rehabilitation. But rehabilitation facilities are not covered under insurance. Why so?
See, that is what the starting we have still not moved out of basic hospitalization models. We are covering some sort of a post-hospitalization cover, treatment being taken, but rehabilitation has still not come in because we have not been able to come out with a product for this, for various reasons. We are not come out for, as far as the costing, there is no standardization of any of this.
This is Dr. Rasmiti, I'm a pediatric surgeon. Congenital malformations are not covered by insurance. I still haven't understood why.
Yeah. Now, congenital, there are some insurance. See, another thing about coverage aspect, insurance companies can cover, some not. I may not cover, it depends upon product. Nobody stops them from not covering. Now, when we talk about congenital, internal congenital conditions are generally covered by insurance company after a waiting period of 1 year. Many of the insurance, in group health, group medical claim, it is covered. Many products cover, some products do not cover that also. It's an external congenital condition which is actually not being covered. So, there used to be a product, one of the public sector insurance companies had a birthright insurance policy which they had come out, because this is something which has happened prior to the birth of the person. But anyway, that product did not sell as it was. It was when the person, the lady could buy that product at 3 months or before 3 months of completing 3 months of pregnancy. And if the child is born with a congenital defect, he gets a lump sum benefit. So there was a product for this. And not now, that was even much before liberalization. 20 years back also it was there with India. It doesn't. So external congenital still remains, internal congenital is being covered after a waiting period.
Yeah, but if normal abnormalities, whereas the other 99% will be paying for that kit. So,
Absolutely.
So I still haven't understood why are they not covering external congenital malformations.
The moment insurance companies see that it is, see basically what happens is even that one, it's like covering a congenital condition. Earlier insurance companies were not covering even the internal congenital, saying that we are covering only a person, he's born from 6 months to 80 years, now it is lifelong. So whatever he contracts after within this period is going to be covered. Nothing with which he is coming. Later on there was a development thing that okay, this is something which internal congenital thing needs to be covered. So insurance companies came out with internal congenital coverage. Maybe insurance companies, somebody looks at it as a product, would come out with an extra. So there's no stopping for it. The same goes with, I think there's a something working group which works on HIV coverage, which says that why are we not covering HIV? HIV is an exclusion under all policies. But there are some insurance companies who have come out with covering under a group coverage. Or if you look at RSPY, there's no exclusion for HIV. So the moment somebody sees that, okay, it can be done, or there is enough data to say that, there's no harm in charging premium for it.
Sir,
Yeah.
Sir, Dr. President, sir, I correctly mentioned government should make it compulsory for insurance to each of the citizens. Why they are not making compulsion? They are making compulsion for a vehicle to get insured. If you not, then they are asking for buying house. Why not the health insurance?
I think that's a question which government, because we also through various committees are approaching government with the same. Because generally what happens is if somebody goes, a PIL is filed was filed I think in the Delhi High Court by somebody from for covering HIV people under health insurance policies. Suddenly, and the government is made, the union government as well as the regulator is made a party, they come back to the insurance companies. To why don't you cover it? Now, the issue is that making health insurance companies, the government the planning commission did appoint a committee on universal health coverage. So whether insurance would be the form of a universal health coverage. But that committee has come out with a report talking about government delivering the healthcare rather than going in for insurance. So that debate is still on. People on insurance say that okay, if we could make RSPY work, Rashtriya Swasthya Bima work in rural areas, if you have a similar type of a scheme for a minimum basic scheme for all citizens of the country, that can also work. Some of the state governments have already started doing it. Unfortunately, in India today, we know what the condition is. Healthcare is, whose subject is the biggest discussion. When you talk to the central government, they say these are decisions which can be taken by the state government itself. State government says, we need to. So, for example, Clinical Establishment Act is something which should have been passed by all 28 states, 29 states now itself, but only 7 have done it. And there is still opposition from very corners that we should. So that's the first stage of regulation which comes in.
This is Dr. Singh. I have a comment as well as something to share with everybody across. You briefly mentioned that it's difficult to come to a pricing mechanism, whether it is your orthopedician friend or whether it is RSPY and something that was mentioned by the spinal person to whom it's spinal. I'd like to share with all of you that there has been for the last 6 months a concerted effort to bring about a template as far as various costing is concerned of healthcare. And look at the tragedy, very much like what Dr. Bhatia said in his earlier presentation. It's been up on the web for 4 months. Not a single response to that template has come. And in another 1 week, when it's going to be finally finalized, then everybody is going to be scrambling and saying that this is an unfair template. This template is going to be like when you file your income tax. you will have to in all hospitals start capturing the cost of what you are doing. Because that is the only way to get transparency. Thereby, the cost and pricing gets affected. In turn, your mismanaged cross-claim ratio gets settled. And then the debate of whether government pays for it, whether everybody
Absolutely.
takes compulsory insurance, gets institutionalized in a larger manner. Therefore, the involvement of everybody must be there. You know, lot of rhetoric, but today both sides are talking, but we are not giving back response.
Absolutely, I fully agree. This particular actually template has come to us also, to the insurance companies, and we have, of course, through the General Insurance Council, the insurance companies have given their comments on this. So, I think there are few committees, not only one, there are 4 or 5 committees being in the ministry level who are working on some sort of standardization which is happening in the healthcare sector, and we are actually very happy to share whatever data we have with those committees, because a lot of data requirement does come up.
This is Dr. Abhishek here from Indus Health. I just want to ask that what is insurance doing to promote wellness? So that is my first question. And second is, as the gentleman from behind asked, that what are the constraints of having rehabilitation being input in the insurance? The constraints.
See, basically, again, I come to the same. See, one, wellness, you would be very happy to cover wellness, this thing. Now,